It is way up there.
It's okay. Leave it there.
It's okay.
We're good. You're just like getting the upward, downward angle. It's
Upward,
fun.
downward.
Upward, downward. Hi, guys. How are y'all doing today? Welcome to
Just Look at It.
And my name's Jess.
And my name's Reed. This is episode 2. If you're not seeing the little live at the
red
top,
live.
the red live, then that means we're not live anymore. But you can comment hashtag like. What am I trying to say?
Replay.
Hashtag replay, and then we'll communicate with you because we like you.
We do this in the morning because we always wanted a morning show, but yet neither of us are like knowing how to get our act together in the morning because, well, we did a show for like 160 some shows. We did a live show, but it was always in the evening. It would be like at the end of the day, and we're a little crazy and going nuts. And then this is not the end of the day. And so we're going to, I don't know, take a show to get used to it. I want to see what's going on in the world.
I feel like
and make sure that we are live in all the right spots. Do you want to do our intro?
Yeah, let's see if I can remember it.
Nice. You can do this. We're talking about the education system and back to school. It's going to be a fun talk. We're just going to look at it.
Just look at it. Just look at the whole thing.
Okay.
When the world's going crazy and you don't know what to do, just look at it. That's it. That's your intro.
Okay. Gave me enough time to check. We are, in fact, live on Facebook and YouTube.
Sweet.
So welcome, guys. Please like and share. This is a show, Just Look at It, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern
Standard Time.
I'm going to drink some more coffee right now because that's what we do. And today we're talking about the education system.
Yes, we're looking at it head on. There's a lot. I'd say there's a lot to the education system, but there's
feel
not
like
as
I
much.
need a disclaimer.
There's education systems. Are we looking at all of the systems?
Right. We need to start with a disclaimer because we have not participated in the education system for a very, very long time.
Clearly.
What are you saying?
Oh, I was just thinking for me, like, where's my agenda?
Like, you've never been a part of the education system, and that's part of what makes you unique.
It makes me very unique.
So what was your education like?
Well, my education was like, it was kind of like this in and out. It was like this, not really a steady relationship with education growing up, where my mom pushed me really hard to read when I was younger. And my little sister.
We don't have our mics on.
Oh, wow. I bet it's really echoey.
Keep going.
So my little sister learned to read she's 2 years younger than me. She learned to read when she was 4 years old. And
just keep going. I got
so
this.
With a lot of bullying in the household and just being like, hearing, you're stupid, you can't read. I was just like, no, like I don't even want to read right now anyway. So I will resist it. So I resisted reading till I was about 10 years old. Until I found something that I wanted to read, and then I taught myself to read. I use phonetics. I use what my mother taught me, and I'm really grateful to that she taught me.
Keep talking.
She taught me how to send out words and do all the wonderful things that we should learn in school. And I'm telling you, that really gave me a foundation, because without that, I wouldn't have made it, really. Or maybe I would have made it, but it would have sucked.
Well, then, as an adult, how have you educated yourself?
As an adult, I've educated myself with all the things I want to learn, like in business. If I want to learn about social media, then I learn about social media. If I want to learn about finances, I learn about finance. It was always topic-based. And when I was 10 years old, like, I guess bringing it back to the beginning, when I was 10 years old, I wanted to grow a garden. And it was like in this gravel pit, and it seemed impossible. And it's like, how am I going to do this? And my dad was like, no, you can't do it, because it's just gravel. And I'm like, if I could do it, how could I do it if I could do it? And he wouldn't give me answers. So I started getting books, and I started reading, and I had to get to the bottom of it. And I had to prove that I could grow a garden in a gravel pit, which doesn't make any sense. But in the long run, it made me read because I wanted to read. if you want to read something, if you really want to learn something, then reading makes complete sense. So in our family, we look at it different. Not everyone started to read when they were younger. Some of us started when we were older. In fact, we have a 9-year-old who still resists reading. But if he really wants to know something, he'll really read.
No, he doesn't.
He still resists reading.
He resists being forced to read.
Oh, of course.
The moment he wants to read something, guess what he does?
He figures it out.
And he reads it.
Yeah.
And he was reading like pages of stuff the other day and was just getting stuck on certain 3-syllable words.
Right.
And so it just depends on the person. So here's the deal, though. I was homeschooled when it was illegal. And then my mom put me in a public school at the very end of 2nd grade. And that was my first experience in a formal education. And that was pretty rough. And then we moved a lot as well. So I was always the new kid. Ended up being put in a private school after my dad was murdered. And there was a lot of abuse in the private school. And then I left school at 15, ended up trying to go back when I was 23. I did 1.5 terms and then realized that I hated it. I hated paying to learn stuff I didn't want to learn. And yet I was in a library and could learn anything I wanted at any point. And so I made the decision that I was just going to read a whole library and never complain about library fees. And that was pretty super awesome. And I think that was right around the time we got married. So like 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah.
And it has been so much fun since then, because with just curiosity, you can learn and do absolutely anything, and you can grow and expand. And it's so fun. I think because humans, like, we grow up. And then when we grow up, it's like we quit learning. And that is the weirdest thing to me, because most other animals just always learn and grow.
Right.
But yet humans, they grow up and then they're suddenly done. And that's always been so perplexing, because I love learning and I love really just hearing stories and understanding people and concepts. And so that was just always a blast to me.
Yeah.
And just understanding how to do it different. But really there's a lot of controversy also within the education system and why it just doesn't work.
Yeah. If you look at it close, and we've really studied this with our kids and kind of gone back to, where did education start in the U.S.?
It started with needing to read.
What was the significance of needing education in the U.S.? And you're right, it started with learning how to read.
Learning how to read, and then was it World War I, where it's like a lot of, it was, which war was it? One of the big wars, World War I, Vietnam, or World War II, with all the husbands gone, the wives had to work, they needed to put the kids somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so that was where, combined with the needing to read, schools and a location became the solution. Yeah,
because the combination of printing becoming more established, in that somebody could start a printing company and start printing things, in the late and early 1900s. Like it made way, like during war, where parents
where propaganda was spread, or where printing?
Where people had more access to advertising and propaganda, where if you wanted to really learn something,
or media,
empower
or
yourself,
anything,
you could literally read books at this point. When prior to that, like if you just go back a couple hundred years, people are still learning by word of mouth or by someone else reading a transcript. I mean,
well, the printing press is what transformed how we learned.
Yeah,
but that was because it went for education being interpersonal.
Yeah.
And transferred from person to person to now being reading a book and learning something totally different. So that just changed everything. But what I think we're seeing right now is kind of the collapse of the education system. Because with the distance learning and children just being at desks, and it's distance learning is so much harder than homeschooling. And then life schooling is so much easier than homeschooling. Like there's a gazillion ways to do it, and it's do what's right for your family always. Mm-hmm. But for me, I wanted less arguments. I wanted less fighting. I wanted more fun, and I wanted my kids to love learning for the rest of their lives. Yeah. And because I love learning, and why would I force them to do something when I could just make it be fun? And then we could all just do it together.
Yeah.
And that's really been the premise of our house for the last 10 years. And it's amazing because we just don't even have fights over learning stuff. We just learn it, and it's wild. It's like adventure. It's so much fun.
From my childhood, where I'm like, I have to learn how to read. And there was so much guilt around it and so much shame, honestly, around why can't I learn how to read? Am I stupid in comparison to these other people who are learning how to read at 3 and 4 years old? But it was really that they had the desire to learn to read at 4 years old.
Right.
And some people have more of a gift toward learning to read while they're younger. Others can learn how to speed read when they're 20 years old. They were sucky at reading when they're 11 years old. I can read fine now.
Right.
I'm not extremely fast.
You made it.
Yeah. I can read big words now. I can understand big concepts.
It's kind of like potty training. Like, why do we get so worried about potty training? There's not a lot of 18-year-olds who are going off to college, which is a whole nother education system, but not a lot of 18-year-olds who are going off to college who haven't yet been potty trained. Like, you eventually learn to wipe your butt.
You do.
It's all these standards that we live up to in the ways of the world, and it's like you just don't have to. Why are you living up to those standards, these benchmarks that are completely ridiculous? Because every child, every person is so different. Now, see, the reason I struggled in school was because I was too smart. I wasn't challenged enough. I got in trouble. I could ace every test. I think I've aced every test in my entire life. I
used to believe that tests were difficult.
Right.
Until I tried them.
Had you ever taken a test?
No, my mom actually didn't even have me take tests.
Right. And see, I did tests all the time.
And that's what was very peculiar. And I thought I would fail tests because I've never taken tests. And I had so much anxiety around them. And then the first test I ever did, I think, was for my written test. Literally my written test. Wow.
So see, I was bored.
I went to get my driving permit. And,
oh my goodness.
And I was there just sweating bullets, like tests are hard. And I completely failed the first test. Utterly failed the first test. Then when I went back, I decided that I wasn't going to freak out. I was just going to be calm, and I was just going to do it quickly. And I aced it. I didn't get one wrong. Didn't get one wrong because
You're awfully extreme.
Well, I know, right? But I think it's just like, I wasn't trying to be even perfect on the second time around.
I think you always try to be perfect. If we're going to just look at it, I think you always just try to be perfect. But I had this problem where I wasn't challenged.
I'm learning. I'm a learning robot.
The story I was trying to tell was that I wasn't challenged enough.
Yeah.
And so school was incredibly difficult for me because I didn't ever do the homework. Yeah. I didn't ever do the studying. I just came in and aced every test.
Right.
And I dropped out of high school while on honor roll. And that's just weird. That's a weird dynamic. And then I went through and I busted out my GED super fast because I can test.
Yeah.
And to me, it just seemed so silly because it's like I didn't even know why I knew things. I just knew, and I got concepts because it was just simple, but yet it didn't actually quench my thirst for knowledge. Yeah. And so education within the system, especially if you have someone who's gifted, we have a few kids that are just all of our kids are smart, but when you have someone who's gifted, they need to be challenged in a different way. Yeah. And I'm a little quirky. We have a couple that are a little quirky. That's what makes us smart. And when you're that way, you have to be challenged differently. And we have to go at our own pace. Our son, who is 15, he struggled to read, struggled. We had him in a private school for kindergarten, pulled him out. It was bad. But then when he finally just decided to communicate and to read, it was like in 6 months, he went from learning to read to reading at a college level. Like I was going to him by the time he was about 10 years old, asking for phonetic, like, help me sound this out, because he just was so good at it. But it was because we let him communicate at his speed. And now he reads college level for fun. Like, it's just his quirkiness.
And he speaks sometimes above my head.
Right.
My comprehension level is not as high as he speaks.
He's very, very smart, but we wouldn't have ever been able to access that in a normal school system. We had to let him take charge of his own education, his leadership, his life. Yeah. And he's responsible for it. And yet we're responsible to help him, and we do, and we love it, and it's fun. The conversations, the learning, he's an excellent researcher too. Like, whenever he just wants to know something, he just learns it right then.
I feel like when you were talking about how you can just ace a test and then it's somehow just supposed to prepare you for the next step. Like, you ace your tests and you get a job. And when you get a job, then you should have the knowledge now. You should have it all here, and you should be able to do it. I think about when I got being tested and I did my driving permit, I was one of the worst drivers out on the road.
I could attest to that.
You didn't even see me at my worst.
That's terrifying.
She didn't see me when I was getting all the speeding tickets and when I was running into things.
The day we met, I was
besides that
you.
time.
The day we met, I was following you. You got pulled over.
That was.
And is there any reason?
That straightened my ass out for a couple years, and then I got another speeding ticket.
Right, and then you wrecked the truck.
I was literally getting speeding tickets every 4 to 6 months, though. And here's the other thing, though. I was dodging tickets.
He doesn't
I got
drive
really good.
much.
I got so
Just
bad
so you
at
know,
getting
you're
speeding
safe.
tickets.
You're safe on the road.
I like.
You need to go take
I got
that
my
test
script down. I learned how to drive eventually. I had to go to a safe driving class. That's where I learned how to straighten my ass out when it came to
that was
driving.
after you wrecked the truck. I remember that.
No, it was after.
Right.
Before, after?
No, it was after. Because you had to do that because of... Okay. You know what?
I ran a red light while delivering pizza, and I got pulled over, and the cop said, "You've got 2 options here. You've got 2 options." I hadn't had speeding tickets or tickets for a few years, which was a miracle in itself. And he said, "You've got 2 options. You can either pay this exuberant fine, or you can go to driving school." And I was like, well, paying the exuberant fine would be fine because I could just pay it off in like 3 months. Right. Like, it was high. And I didn't want to just try to pay for it all at once.
Driving school is one of the schools that I actually love, along with any other trade type schools. Me,
and they had a nurse and a sheriff and an attorney. Oh my God. They ripped my heart out, threw it on the pavement, and showed me how dangerous driving really is.
And we are all grateful.
And I drove home hearing everything. I could hear cars from a mile away. I could feel what they were doing, and I felt like I was in the shell of a car, like a pop can, and then I could be destroyed.
Waiting to die.
At any moment. And when
waiting to die.
Waiting to die. And it scared the shit out of me because when this nurse was, this emergency room head nurse was talking about.
Okay.
He's.
I'm wanting to get to trade schools. We have like 11 minutes.
I know, we only have 11 minutes.
I love trade schools.
But I'm telling you, when you learn things by, when you have examples, it's like going to seminars.
Right.
It's like going to seminars and people put big things up on the screen and they give you example after example. And it's nothing like regular education that I've never experienced. Except boring seminars.
I love trade schools. I love tools. And that's something like there's so many different types of tools where you can go and learn something really specific. Like you can go and learn a plumbing or electrical or truck driving or computer coding. You can learn video editing. You can learn all of these real specific things. And that is so powerful to me. In fact, that's how we educate our kids, is by like, let's take whatever you're excited about and learn it. Let's try it. Mm-hmm. And we buy adult programs because why not? Like they can do it. And they try it. If they like it, we keep going. If they don't, we stop and we try something else. But most of the time what happens is you end up getting enough knowledge in an area that it's really helpful for it's really helpful for them to understand it, but then they may not love it, and that's okay. It's still a tool that's really handy. Like carpentry really benefited really benefited our kids because now they know how to fix things, especially wooden things.
Natalie, thanks for joining us. We're talking about
education system.
We started out talking about the education system, but there's multiple education systems.
We're talking about learning because we educate ourselves and our family very different. We have a program called Life School, and it's tons of fun because we educate, we live, we grow, we heal, we do everything together. And we've been doing it as a family for 10 years. It was our solution to empowerment on the other side of trauma.
Well, we put our kids in school and we put them in the best Christian school we could find. And that's what everybody said. And so
it was the best private school. Like we were looking at all different types of private schools. It happened to be a private Christian school. It was right down the street. It was really good. And then it was really bad. And we decided we had to do something different.
And it was really bad because they didn't understand how to just ebb and flow with the needs of kids. Like we had a kid with special needs and the other one who's just like, no, like I want to learn, but I don't want you to
tell me what to do.
It's like she wasn't being challenged. He was being challenged to do something that made his mind just freak out. And the pressures were just too much. It was like he had a nervous wreck of a teacher, and it was like it was time to just go, you know what?
She was old. She needed to retire like 20 years prior.
Yeah.
Like she was way too old to be teaching. And
she would be fine, but she just was a nervous wreck when she
I don't think she would have been fine.
Well, maybe she'd be fine outside of not teaching.
If you're a nervous wreck every time you speak to kids, why the hell should you be a teacher?
We're agreeing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she's fine. Just don't teach my kids.
Gotcha.
Like, she's great.
Oh, my goodness.
And so at that point, that's when we decided we need to do something different. And we started teaching our kids by topic. We started having them try things, and they were young at the time.
Thematic learning.
Thematic learning, yeah.
And we still do that. That's how I learn. I pick a theme and I go deep and I study all about it. And over the last 20 years, I have had 3 major themes in my life, and it's always been money, entrepreneurship, making money, like living differently in that way, sex, sexuality, selling sex. Part of that is like, trafficking survivor, former sex worker, all that good stuff. And then generational cycles, parenting, relationship. And so those are the 3 areas of my life that I have studied extensively for 20 years, where I've been coaching for 20 years, where I've been really working on those 3 issues because they're my primary love. Like it's what I love to study. It's what I love to learn about. Like I can stay up all night reading because I'm excited about any one of those 3 topics. Over the years, you get really, really good at knowing what the heck you're talking about. And then I was like, why not teach our kids differently too? Because if I don't want them to be a part of the system in the way that they're being held back, what if we just did let them create a system?
Yeah.
And that has been so fun and so powerful.
It's incredible when you see, like, especially with our kids, since we have some really gifted ones and they focus, some are really, really great. We have a daughter who's really great.
They're all
organizing.
Really great.
And then we have I sound like Trump at the moment. They're really great,
They're all great, but only some of them are really great.
But only some of them the greatest. But they're all the greatest because they're the best. They're the best.
I will not spit on the computer.
We have some that we've given them free reign on organizing. I remember a little Chloe, she was like 6 years old, and we're like, hey, organize this bottom part of the cabinets. This is how it works.
Like the whole
so
big
pots and pans and all this stuff. And we had shown her before, and she had helped, and she literally organized the entire thing by herself in less than 10 minutes. Just the entire bottom of the cabinets. Granted, it wasn't a huge kitchen at the time, but it was just like there was all
like
of the different items. 6 years old, and she just blew through it and had a great time doing it. It's like, I think that's like gifted. She's really gifted in this area. And we have like a son, our 15-year-old, who really focused on being able to put logic and reason together. Like when he was 2 years old, he was doing puzzles.
Yeah, he was doing 500-piece puzzles at 2, but didn't talk till he was 3 and a half.
Yeah.
So it was wild.
So he'd create games for all of them, and he would create strategies behind them. And one of them, our 9-year-old now, learned how to communicate, help him communicate the details. And so they would fill in for each other. They'd learn how to be a team just because they saw this need and they met that need. And I feel like that's what, from what I hear and understand, is that's what the education system is lacking. There's a lack of perspective and a whole lot of do, pass the test and move on. But some of us don't want to move on. Some of us actually want to dig deeper. We want to actually look at it head on. We want to learn something that's specific to what we are passionate about. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, guys, we love you tons. We will see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on Just Look at It. And we want to encourage you to be your own damn hero.
Yeah.
Like, take control of your life. Know what you control, know what you don't control. Look at your responsibilities. Double down. It feels so good. It feels so good to take responsibility for your life, to be your own damn hero, rise above, not let anything hold you back, speak your truths, stand with joy and courage, and change the world. Yeah. Let's do it together.
You're worth it.
We love you guys.
Have an incredible day.
We hope you have a great day.
See you next time,
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye.